Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. Star Wars Squadrons is releasing in just a few days. One of the recent gameplay trailers of the game does give us a glimpse of what the single-player campaign will cover. The Nadiri Dockyards, home to the New Republic Starhawk program. Today I want to discuss everything we know about the new Starhawk Battleship Program and why it's so important to both the fledgling New Republic and the rapidly collapsing Empire. The Rebel Alliance started out with very humble origins, especially its Navy. It mainly used stolen Clone Wars-era starfighters in the beginning, along with civilian and diplomatic vessels which were repurposed into carriers and so-called capital ships. You had diplomatic vessels like the Corellian CR-90 Corvette, Hammerhead Corvettes, and the GR-75 medium transports, and that was about it. None of these ships that the Rebel Alliance used in the earlier years of the war were specifically designed for military engagements, so oftentimes the Rebels' best strategy was just to run whenever it encountered an Imperial naval fleet. Having a ship designed ground up for military purposes is quite important. Military vessels generally have a much more solid superstructure. The hull is usually reinforced and might even have a false keel for extra layers of protection. The interior of these ships were designed for maximum efficiency and laid out for maximum safety in the event of a breach or an enemy boarding action. Different grades and quality of metal and components are also used on military vessels when compared to civilian vessels. It's these seemingly minor differences that make a Hummer a military vehicle and a Ford Escape a consumer vehicle. This also applies to giant starships. Now, even when the Rebel Alliance began acquiring military ships, they were either stolen, like the Nebulon B escort frigate, or snub fighters like the Y-Wing, which the Rebels scavenged from Imperial scrapyards. When the Mon Calamari exodus happened, the Rebellion finally acquired even larger ships, which could be considered capital ships. Generally, these Mon Cala vessels were around the size of an Imperial-class Star Destroyer and large enough and strong enough to exchange broadsides with these Imperial battleships. But even then, the Mon Calamari cruisers were not necessarily designed for combat. As a matter of fact, the majority of the Mon Calamari ships in the Rebel Alliance had previously served as civic buildings in underwater Mon Cala cities. This means that the Mon Cala ships were incredibly durable, and their frames were designed to withstand the pressures of the deep ocean. This means that most Mon Cala vessels are quite over-engineered for space. But still, these heavy cruisers were essentially buildings first and not really optimally designed for the battlefield. Now, before we continue, a word from our sponsor for today's video, Private Internet Access, or PIA VPN. For those of you who have never used a VPN or a virtual private network, this is a service that essentially hides your identity when you access the web, so your data, information, and location are all encrypted. PIA VPN was founded in 2010 and is one of the leading no-log VPN services in the world. It's PC Magazine's editor's choice and has over 10,000 servers in 70 countries, which users have unlimited access to. In today's era of completely unregulated monetization of user data, it's important to protect your digital profile so that large corporations can't steal your information and target you with addictive and oftentimes detrimental advertising and content. You've also probably heard that the big data analysis market has surpassed the oil industry in value. So why let these corporations mine your information when you don't even see a cent from all that profit? But PIA VPN is not just software that can help keep your identity hidden and safe. It can also unblock regional and national restrictions from services like Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, and so on. As an East Coast 49ers fan, it also makes being a displaced fan that much easier, especially after your team loses 4 starters playing the New York Jets in the second week, guys. It's the Jets, play the farm team. PIA VPN is also available on mobile platforms like Android and iOS. It's also available on PC and Mac. Right now, you can try PIA VPN for 30 days, money back guaranteed. If you want to check out the service for yourself, head to my link in the description below and get a 77% discount on a subscription and 3 extra months free. You can pay with a variety of different methods, including PayPal, Bitcoins, gift cards, and more. Thank you for your patience. When Mon Mothma made the declaration of the New Republic, it was very easy to see this as a political move where you're basically rebranding a guerrilla movement into a legitimate government. But even though the rebels were now winning, they were still throwing small corvettes and snub fighters against Imperial Star Destroyers. There's kind of a sense in the galaxy that the New Republic wasn't a legitimate contender against the Empire, despite the fact they were winning. They were more like a mass protest movement without aim or direction, or more importantly, a nice navy with giant capital ships. So what the New Republic really needed was parity in warship designs, specifically when it came to battleships. What the New Republic High Command realized was that they were no longer carrying out small little hit-and-run raids. In the past, due to the makeup of their ships, raiding was the only chance that the Rebel Alliance fleet could survive a mission without heavy losses. Now that the Imperial Navy were the ones doing the raiding, the New Republic found themselves on the defensive and in need for larger ships that could deter enemy incursions. And while the MC-80 heavy cruiser could go toe-to-toe with an Imperial-class Star Destroyer, it usually suffered a lot of damage during this exchange of fire. Mon Cala ships generally had better shielding and armor when compared to Imperial ships of the same class, but the Mon Cala cruisers lacked firepower, which is needed for a very quick and decisive victory, which also limits the amount of damage done to your ship. Now, the Starhawk-class battleship was conceived shortly after the Battle of Endor. The Rebellion managed to seize several Imperial orbital shipyards like Fondor and Varsha. Orbital shipyards were harder to hide, so the Rebel Alliance didn't have many. But these orbital shipyards also allowed engineers to design massive ships that didn't need to be launched from a planet's gravity well. Without gravity, the size of the ship designs could increase, and construction also became considerably cheaper. The Nadiri dockyards, located in the Bormia sector, home to the New Republic's capital Chandrila, was selected as the main construction site for the New Republic capital ship. The idea behind the Starhawk design was twofold. First, the ship was designed to cover all of the MC-80 cruiser's shortcomings. This ship would represent the latest in defensive and offensive capabilities. At the same time, the Starhawk also had to utilize the dozens of Imperial-class Star Destroyers that the rebels managed to seize when taking over various shipyards. Many of these Star Destroyers were actually ready in pieces and ready to be stripped for parts. The Starhawk-class battleship would be the first serious battleship design made by any Republic military since the beginning of the Ruusan Reformation. Prior to the collapse of the Galactic Republic, the galaxy had been in a state of peace and disarmament. The Starhawk would feature the traditional hatchet ship bridge and front area that was popularized by the Hammerhead cruiser, the backbone of the Old Republic Navy. But the difference was that the Starhawk was massive, even by Imperial standards. At 2,400 meters long, the Starhawk was twice as long as a MC-80A Heavy Star cruiser, and a full 800 meters longer than the infamous Imperial-class Star Destroyer. The size of the Starhawks was a clear message that the New Republic was now in charge of the galaxy. In true Old Republic fashion, the Starhawk was designed for aggressive frontal charges. This is where most of the armament and armor was placed on the ship. The Starhawk had 24 forward-mounted heavy turbo laser batteries, 4 forward-mounted ion cannon batteries. The rest of the ship had 10 octuple turbo laser batteries, 40 additional ion cannons, 32 missile launchers, and 36-point defense cannons. This was a risky design choice for the New Republic, as most Imperial ships featured a much larger firing arc that gave commanders more option and maneuverability in battles. A commander of a Starhawk has to constantly be focused on presenting only the front of their ship to their enemy. This gave the Starhawk a very narrow profile, which made it harder to hit, along with allowing the crew to concentrate defenses to just one part of the ship as well. The Starhawk also had a very massive tractor beam assembly designed in the front of the ship. It was so powerful that the Concorde, one of the first commissioned Starhawks, was able to drag an Executor-class Star Dreadnought out of orbit during the Battle of Jakku. The destruction of the massive Imperial command ship turned the battle in favor of the New Republic. And that was kind of the point of the Starhawk. The Rebel Alliance was no more, and now they were the New Republic, and this meant they didn't need to be stealthy, unpredictable, or even smart in battles anymore. The Starhawk was impressive and all about brute force. It could shrug off massive amounts of damage and still deliver its own payload in a very Imperial way. It makes sense that Star Wars Squadron would focus around the Starhawk program, as it was one of the more important ship designs in the latter years of the war. The Starhawk only saw action in the last year of the war, but when it did appear, it usually gave the New Republic a massive advantage. In the game, as part of Vanguard's Squadron, you'll be located on the Lodestar, an old Clone Wars era Acclamator class assault cruiser that has been converted into the command ship for General Harrison Dula's Rebel Battle Group. Vanguard Squadron has been assigned to several important missions, including hunting down the notorious 204th Imperial Fighter Squadron. They would also later be assigned to the Nadiri dockyards, which is where the Starhawk program was being developed. They'll most likely have to protect the project from Imperial incursion. Now, if you play on the Imperial side of the campaign, you'll be placed in Titan Squadron. Your mission will most likely involve stopping or at least delaying the Starhawk project. So that's all we really know about the Starhawk Battleship Program. I'm super excited to see it in live action because I actually read about this ship design in an early Disney Star Wars novel almost like 5 years ago. So it's been a long time, and I'm glad that now it's become a physical, real object that we can fly around and hopefully blow up. Anyway, guys, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our Star Wars Squadron coverage. And as usual, thanks for joining us today. If you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.